Josh, I'll put my smile for a while.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the meeting of the Finance and Property Committee held this evening. Calling the meeting to order at this time. My name is James Stack. I am chairman of the committee. On my right is Chad Worrell, a member, and next to him is Terry Dolan, who is our secretary. Around the room are a few other people. Tom Rayone, Maintenance and Way chairman. Chief Poirier, Chief Kirkman, Mr. Borski.
Melanie Lauder from the Daily Tribune.
Okay.
Steve Pope, private citizen.
Okay.
My daughter Caitlin.
Here today. Sheldon.
Todd Perkins.
Yes.
Mary Jo Carson, Mary Jo Haney, private citizen.
All right. And Tim and Shane. Right. Thank you for all coming tonight. Our first item is a resolution adopting the tax levy and the 2015 city budget as has been presented to us. Tim, your final remarks regarding this today.
Okay, I gave you guys the changes that, from the last meeting that we had. We discussed two changes in particular. One was adding to the council conferences budget. It was budgeted at 500, and that was increased $1,500 to 2,000 based on last week's meeting, and then also a request.
2,000 to 1,500, right?
Yeah, we transferred 1,500 from the emergency communications training to the council training,
Okay.
or the conferences line item.
Right.
And then the other change was, there was a request for, some money be placed in the special events community benefit for the disposal costs for the neighborhood cleanup program for things that we collect. So we transferred 6,000 of the city property outlay into that budget to take care of those items.
And I see that you indicate there's no change, increase or decrease in expenditures or revenues.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, and we had to basically do that because we're right up against the expenditure restraint limit, so we're not allowed, we weren't able to raise expenditures anymore, so we had to make transfers between the budgeted funds.
Mm-hmm.
Also in the Public Works Construction Fund, although there were no changes in the actual budgeted amounts, due to some information that kind of came to the engineering's attention, they recommended substituting in 7th Avenue North. I do believe, Tom, you talked about that at the last Public Works Committee meeting. Substituting 7th Avenue North project, Harrison Street to High Street, and finishing up 17th Avenue North, 330 feet north of High Street to Green Bay Street, are going to be added into next year's project. And then the first string north to Spring to Poplar was moved, and that'll probably be delayed and put into the 2016 budget request.
All right. Tom, any comments or questions as chairman? No. Okay. Let's see. Todd, any questions or comments at this point? No. Okay. Mary Jo?
No, I don't have any, but I think this Mary Jo.
Okay.
Well, what I have pertains to Public Works. I'd like to know what the directive is to Public Works when it snows. And I asked that question because last year, 14th Street did not get plowed. It was a mess. And it didn't get plowed recently, and it's getting very slippery. And I just wonder what the Public Works has been directed to do as far as snowfalls.
Okay. Jim?
Well, our policy says that anytime we get 4 inches of snow or more, all streets will be plowed. Amounts lesser than that can be plowed at the discretion of the Public Works Superintendent or his assistant.
Okay.
Generally, amounts less than 2 inches, we don't plow. We get around 2 inches, we plow those streets, but we don't do it on overtime if we can help it. Plow it on a straight time basis, normal work days as we get them. Most of our residential streets weren't plowed this snowfall. Our highways were, and our downtown was, and our arterial streets were once the weekend ended, but we didn't want to plow a lot of things on Sunday because it's double time. We only had 1.5 inches of snow. So the policy's been unchanged as far as snow removal and approach to plowing for the 30 years I've been here. It's been brought back to committee and council's been tweaked a little bit, but those amounts and those triggers that when we plow haven't changed.
Okay, I appreciate that. But as a taxpayer, I feel what I'm paying in taxes, I should be getting back in services, and I don't feel that I am. I feel the council spends money in places where they'd be better cutting their budget and putting it back into serving the citizens of this community, because we're footing the bill. And we have a lot of intersections that have no markings, no stop signs anyway. And it's very easy for people to slide through those when the roads haven't been plowed. And I don't think it's the public works fault, I think it's the council's fault. Because they should be putting more money into the budget to provide these services. We don't pay for travel, which our mayor does a lot of, with no accountability to anybody. I would ask Mr. Worrell, do you know where the mayor went last year and for what reason?
It's all, he has that community update. Do you get his emails?
No,
He provides a wonderful, email and by mail. How else does he get the word out, Shane?
Maybe the mayor's report at council?
Yeah, we get reports on what he's done, what kind of workshops he's attended. I think it's a good thing. Using this for an example, he went to a conference and he came back with a grant from the CN Railroad that we're using for beautification. So you can laugh and smile all you want when you're out there and doing that, networking with other communities and cities and other mayors across the country. It brings back ideas and different things that hopefully in time we can adapt to our own community in Wisconsin Rapids.
well, I contributed to the beautification project. And I have no problem with that. I do have problems with not getting the services that we are paying for. And my taxes went up last year, and I'm looking at this, they're probably gonna go up again. So I'd like to see more bang for the buck in what I get in services.
Jim, just a question for you. Could you explain, for the folks at home, what our arterial streets are? How do they, what are they for your work?
Well, examples of arterial streets on the east side would be Lincoln Street, Sampson Street, First Street. Going the other way would be 12th, 16th. They're usually every 40 line, so every quarter mile. On the west side, it'd be 17th Avenue, High Street, 21st Avenue, 25th Avenue. I guess by plowing those with a more regularity than a strictly residential street, it ensures that nobody has to go more than 2 blocks to get to a plowed street.
Okay. Tom, any comments on the question? Okay. All right.
No, I think the policy's there. It's been pretty consistent.
And as for bang for the buck, we do try, and I know my effort has been always to try and do the best that we can. And it is the nature of the beast that when you have $1 to be spent, and many different people looking at it how it would be spent, that you have to look at what I think are the best ways to do it. And for my consideration, the best way to do it is to have the department heads come to the mayor and to Tim, whoever the finance director is, and look through and see what we can do the best. Always remember that there have been times in the past when I'd like to have seen something done. But as a community, the state has said to us, you may do this and you may work up to this point. And then keep in mind always that the expenditures for services include the cost of doing that service, whatever it might be. Any business has a certain overhead in the consumables that they have and in the workforce that they have. And I know that through the years, Jim has worked to do the best that he can with the folks that he has. I've been in other committees where we've discussed that, trying to do the best we can with what we have.
Has that budget remained stable, though it looks like it's been cut?
He has lost some money at different times, but again, that comes about in discussions that he has with Tim and the mayor. You've always, your budget is a compromise, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, not always to your liking, perhaps.
Well, I never get a lot cut out of it, but over the years, we've lost employees and we've lost full-time employees down to limited term employees, which
Yes.
just by doing that, you reduce your labor dollars.
Mm-hmm.
It's just naturally gonna be lower.
Right.
Does that affect your service then?
Absolutely.
Certainly it will. It will.
I just would like to add to your comment about his travels and to different seminars and training. We send the police department, you send you and yourself, Randy, and some of your crew to training, and you do too. To keep, every department sends people to seminars and training and to be up to date and to learn different things to bring back to their department to help maybe function a little bit better. So I don't think it's any different with the mayor, sending the mayor.
But my point is, when you're cutting services elsewhere, in my household, I don't go to things if I have other needs that need to be met. That's my point. And you just heard that services and the public works are being cut by the nature of employees retiring or whatever, and you're going to part-time. So maybe that needs to be looked at first before other things are looked at. Because the taxpayer is paying for services to the community. That's my point. I don't think you got it.
I understand.
Okay.
But a few $1,000s for a couple things is not gonna prevent him from saving
But there's
thousands of
been
dollars to come out and
positions
plow your snow
added.
at 2 inches.
There's been positions added too within the city
That
that have nothing to do with direct services to the taxpayer.
I would disagree with that because of the fact that as you bring technology to the fore into things which are a part of your business, okay? My business was a phone business. We went from electromechanical to digital. It opened up a whole new world to us as what we could do as a provider of services to the community. The same thing will take place as we bring on the GIS information and be able to provide that information for a person in the field. So we have someone working in the field. It's anticipated that in the future, not all things will have to be ferried back and forth, but it could be possible for the person in the field using a tablet to have the information he needs to complete his work. How that will play out is certainly a matter of things to come. But we are making these changes, and I think a community needs to do that. The old way of doing things was good, but that does not mean the new way of doing things can be as good as well or perhaps better. So the folks who take the lead on this need to be trained, and in turn they train those who are taught what is needed. The best teacher is a person who learns first, applies it, and then can teach others.
But that's still not gonna get the streets plowed or the street sweepers out there cleaning up the streets and other things.
But it may, with time, it may have free funds in other ways that we're not aware of to do those type of things that you're speaking of.
But you don't know that
I
yet.
don't know that.
That's
No,
an
that's
assumption.
correct. That's correct.
Assumptions get us in trouble
All they
sometimes.
do,
Can I ask a question of Jim? How long has the 2-inch policy been in place?
Since before I got this job.
I know it's been since I,
Yeah,
Actually,
So it's this council's fault.
it's
Yeah.
4-inch, it's 4-inch.
okay, 4-inch.
4-inch
It's been
before
since
all
I lived in
streets will be
Huntington,
plowed.
I know that, so.
oh, sure.
That policy was written by
15
somebody
years.
before me, and it's just been reviewed and unchanged for years.
That's not to your point, but that was your original question.
Well, but it, you know, when it builds up, like 2 inches and then 2 more inches and it still's not getting plowed, then you get a street that looks, and it's not, I'm not blaming Mr. Borski, but, 14th Street last year was almost hazardous.
Yeah.
Because it thawed, it froze, and it
Yeah.
hadn't been cleaned.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just
Okay.
saying the policy's been in place for so long, that's a whole
But
nother,
maybe the policy needs to be revisited.
maybe it does, but
But the
If
way,
we're gonna
not
have
in-
winners like we keep having.
but the way you worded it, that it's the council's fault.
yeah.
We have a street superintendent and his assistant, Mr. Ballard, are put in place to make those decisions.
But the council holds the purse strings, and you've been doing the cutting financially. Correct?
Correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you.
Tom, anything else? Mr. Ferky, anything at this time?
Well, what I would address to your comment there, as far as cutting labor, sometimes when you have larger equipment, bigger end loaders and stuff like that, can get a lot more accomplished than just using snowplow trucks. So last year was a terrible winter. We might have another terrible winter this year, another terrible winter next year. But we are in Wisconsin, and if you want to, I'm sure the city uses as much salt and as much manpower and as much equipment to remove the snow as efficiently as possible. When I worked at Consolidated Papers, anytime there was a dusting of snow, crews were sent out to salt and to sweep and to shovel. Now, the city doesn't have a unlimited budget as far as snow removal or fire protection or police protection. That's why we have smaller forces patrolling the streets and whatever else. So keep in mind what you ask for. If you want the city to plow every time there's a dusting of snow, if you think your taxes are high now, they can go higher. So again, be careful what you ask for.
I think you're missing my point, and
I'm not missing your point. I understand exactly what you're saying.
I served on the school board, and I know that you can choose to move money around to cover what needs to be done without affecting tax levies. I know that for a fact. I do that in my own household. It can be done in government if you so wish.
Mayor, any comment at this time?
I would just encourage Mary Jo for you to stop down to the street department, for example, and to see one of the fruits of the labor of the rapid improvement program, which was really intended to do exactly what you just said. How can we save dollars doing process improvement to be able to put dollars back in things like plowing the streets or you name it, right? So we're gonna
But you
expand the
need
compost sites. Let me
people
finish
to-
my point, please.
Excuse me, you
Okay.
need people to run the plows.
Of course you do. We have
And
not
you've
reduced the
cut-
number of people running plows, Jim. We have not reduced the number of people running street sweepers. We have not reduced the people running any of that equipment. If you're concerned about the person that ran parts from one site to the other site across town, of course we did. We reallocated those dollars within the street department. Take a look at the street department budget. And Jim is here and Jim can provide the detail for you, Mary Jo. Having a vending machine dispense somebody's safety gloves and goggles and everything else and reallocating those dollars elsewhere is not an unsmart investment. And I encourage you to stop down when you've got some time to take a look at that.
Any other comments or questions at this point? Okay. Then the resolution that we have. And this is resolution for 2014. I'll read it. Resolution adopting the tax levy and 2015 city budget. Be it resolved that the budget for the year 2015, as stated in the public hearing document dated November 18, 2014, be and the same is hereby adopted, and the sum of $28,008,430.28 be and the same is hereby levied and assessed against all taxable property, both real and personal, within the city of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, for the year 2014. Be it further resolved that the appropriate tax rate be established and applied to the valuation of the property in the city as certified by the state so as to raise the required amount of $28,008,430.28. Would there be a motion to approve the resolution?
I'd just like to point out that 28 million is the levies for all the city and all the other taxing entities, the state, Wood
Within the
County,
community.
Technical
Right.
College, and the school district.
Correct. The actual Wisconsin Rapids levy is 11 million.
Correct.
Almost 12 million. Okay. Would there be a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve adopting the tax levy for the 2015 city budget.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as adopted. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for visiting and discussing this afternoon. All right, item number 3 is a request from the street superintendent. Jim, would you like to raise that chair a little bit?
Tall guy sitting in it.
And Jim is coming to us.
What are your guys want?
We go to Kurt first.
800 number.
Uh-oh.
He's selling something. All right, the two items I brought before you tonight are on this 5-year replacement list under the 2014 schedule.
So you're replacing a forklift and a floor sweeper.
Right, the forklift we're replacing actually lives out at the sewage plant. It's a 1974 Army surplus machine that they use mostly indoors, and it's a gasoline engine, which isn't a very good combination for them. They're starting to have some trouble with oxygen sensors and things like that. So I'm going to replace ours with a new one and give them ours. Ours is propane. It's 18 years old, but we've had no trouble with it. We've never put a part in it. So I would take the sewage plant forklift, put it on auction, and give them our machine.
Okay, so we have a forklift that will replace the one that the wastewater uses. Okay,
Yeah, they don't use it a lot,
Mhm.
maybe 100 hours a year, but they have to have it. They have polymer and different chemicals come out on forklifts on trucks that they have to unload and get in their building, and then they have to raise it up and get it into their feed hoppers and stuff. So they do need one, but it's not getting a lot of hours.
okay, and this is propane, so that makes it a little safer.
The one we've got, right, would be a propane machine, replace their gas engine.
Okay, and I talked with you about this swap.
Yes.
Okay,
Be very happy if I got it done.
all right.
Here are the quotes I got on forklifts.
Now, has Tom seen this? Tom, has he seen this?
No.
Okay.
And they're all pretty close. Nobody really wanted our trade-in very badly. I guess to speed things up, my recommendation would be to buy the Toyota forklift from Conger Industries. That's where we bought our last one. Like I said, we've run it for 18 years and it hasn't cost us anything in parts or labor.
Okay.
There is a lower bid. It's the Utilev from Fairchild Equipment. It's about $300 cheaper. Did some research on the company, wasn't very impressed, and I think it just doesn't pay to change brands for $300.
Mhm.
For a machine we're gonna keep 20 years, it's like $14 or $15 a year savings. So I'm recommending you buy the Toyota forklift.
All right.
Toyota's a good one, you get a lot of life out of it.
Yeah, the Domtar and NewPage both endorsed them and said that's about the best machine they've ever owned too, so.
Any questions from those present? Yes,
The LP tow motor that's going over to water quality, or to water sewer wastewater, is that going to be stored in a heated facility?
Yes.
Okay, because I know with the LP, they do struggle
Mhm.
being, if it's just a covered facility rather than.
No,
heated.
it's inside in a heated building.
okay. Kind of like what folks struggled with last year with their propane.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, would there be a motion to approve the purchase of the forklift from Conger Toyota in the amount of $21,447?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve the request.
As presented. I apologize, one question. Total bid that you have, 21,947. What was that, what occurred there? Was there not going to be a trade-in?
Right. Right,
Okay.
I think we can do better selling it on government auction site.
Okay. So the total bid then is 21,947,
Right.
correct? Okay,
21,947.
my apologies. And Tim, does that fit in with your?
Yep.
Your scheduling and your planning?
The
Funds are
equipment
fine?
replacement account, yeah, that's it, fund that
Okay.
where we
Yep,
budget depreciation into the machinery rental rates, and then we recapture that and put it in this fund to replace the equipment.
Okay.
It's reached its useful life.
all right. Again, would there be a motion to approve the purchase at 21,947?
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented for $21,947 for the Toyota forklift.
Second?
Okay, motion has been made and second to approve the purchase of the Conger Toyota lift. Is there any further questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then you would like to replace the forklift sweeper.
Yeah, we've got a tenant floor sweeper in our shop. I'd like to replace that with a sweeper scrubber. They've added that feature now for trying to loosen up mud that's packed on floors and things like that. And we went up to Point at the city transportation garage there and took a look at one sweeping in there. And of course, they're more expensive when you add the scrubber feature, so I sent out requests for quotes to Tenant and Advance, which sells an advanced model, and actually they're handled by somebody else, Fairchild Equipment, and I only got a bid back from Advance on the Advance. I don't know if you're willing to entertain a single quote, but I'll pass it around so you got a.
How long did they have to place a quote?
We sent the specs out in October.
Okay,
I don't know what happened, that we didn't get the second bid back, but there was some kind of a mix-up.
all right. Have they contacted you in any way to discuss it?
I
Or have you
I spoke with their regional rep, and it seemed like we were online to get a quote from them, and then it didn't happen, so. I don't know, we could hold this off for a month if you wish, I wouldn't have a problem with that, to see just how Tenant compares and price-wise, but
Have you been able to look at both machines live?
I have not seen a new Tenant sweeper,
Okay, you did see the Advance?
the Advance, yeah.
That you were able to see?
Yeah.
Okay, but not the Tenant.
Right.
Where is the closest for a Tenant?
The
Did you
closest
get that
dealer's
from a
in
sales-
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis?
Mhm.
Okay. Machines in use any place that they told you?
They didn't tell me anywhere close by I could go see one.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I will if I can find one in the area.
sure. Okay. Committee?
Well, if you don't mind waiting one more month, I would say hold it over, give them the benefit of the doubt just to compare.
I really expected to have at least two quotes when I came to committee, and the second one never came in. We can pester them a little bit and see if they're interested or not, and we'll
Okay.
come back in a month.
Anyone else provide this type of equipment?
Not that
you're
I
aware
could
of?
find, not that I could find.
There's not many, I know that.
Pardon?
There's not many, I know that, we have advanced.
Oh, okay. Is it getting to be that equipment purchases, your number of suppliers is decreasing? Okay. Well, then there's,
All right, I'll make
Come
a
on, make
motion.
motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to hold this item over
okay,
until
motion,
December December's finance and property meeting.
Okay, motion is second. Second. Motion made and seconded to hold over the request for a floor sweeper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you're welcome, Jim. Thank you for coming in. Chief? Baycom.
Yes.
I've heard of that name before.
Thank you. And this agenda item and request would be to purchase repeaters for our emergency communication system, the amount of which is $26,234.88, which is budgeted. A little bit of background information, the repeaters from our current emergency communication system are old and failing. We've been kind of doing what we need to do to limp those along. We have had some repeater pricing from Baycom from 2013, which they will continue to honor. However, we have been notified that there is a price increase of a potential 10 to 15% in 2015. With that, we are coming forward with a request with the ability to purchase at the current pricing so that we have backups or replacement for the current repeaters, and to have new repeaters available for the communications tower project, which is a project kind of in the works.
So these would be purchased at this time to take advantage of the savings and not necessarily placed in use at this time?
Correct, only if the
Okay.
current repeaters fail.
Okay,
And then again, twofold, the backside of that is as we move into the tower project, which will be phased over time, they would be a component of that that we would absolutely need. So we'd just be getting the current pricing.
are there, these repeaters that you're looking to purchase, are they a digital based?
Yes.
Digital based package?
Yes, they will take
Okay.
care of us into the future requirements for radio communication and digital capacity.
Okay, and the software and so on that would go with something like that is out there?
Yes.
Okay. I see you have an analog conventional software package, but I don't see something for digital service.
And our radio gurus aren't here, but Dave and I will assure you that as we work on this with Baycom, they are absolutely in the know as far as where we need to be technology-wise. So,
Okay.
but one of the reasons probably for the analog at this time, Mr. Chair, is some of our radio communications at this point as we transition are
Okay.
still in an analog capacity as we move forward in our purchasing and getting ready for the change in regulation around the digital communication piece.
Mhm.
We will still be in a position to operate at analog and convert to digital.
If something was, if one failed, for example, all of a sudden, you'll have that package available. Okay. When do you have to be digital? Has the city, or not the city, but the state or federal government come to you and said that we would like a digital package at a certain point?
Yeah.
It's already happened.
It has
It's already
passed.
passed, yeah. And
Okay.
then to go back, this is actually a digital system and that analog is an add-on
Yeah.
because we still have analog radios.
Okay,
So these repeaters will be both for police and fire.
so you're going to piggyback the one on the other
Correct.
to make both work at this
Exactly.
time. Okay, all right.
It said you install them, the antennas on the water tower.
At this point in time, that's where our antennas are, yes.
Are they over the 30 feet?
They're over 30.
So the 26,000, does that include the city's labor to, because it says here they don't install over 30 feet? So does our own city crews?
We would actually utilize, we've got an individual within our agency, he and his father actually do tower work and radio work. And so that's kind of something that we can do internally and have done internally over time.
You've used them before?
Yes.
Okay,
And they're licensed to do that.
okay.
And the other thing, just for the committee and for those others present, although this right now is presented as a kind of a backup to what we have now for emergency communications, as this tower project moves forward over time, there are other city departments that certainly have an interest and would be reliant on this communications capability, whether it's wastewater with their monitoring of the wells, engineering with radio communication to streetlight, to control streetlight versus copper. So there's a back end future with other departments other than just emergency communications.
Okay.
And this has the capability to handle that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay. An 8 meg spread? No, not 8 meg. 38 meg spread. Okay. 136 to 174 meg. Okay. So we'll be able to work the different devices in there. Okay. Tim, we're ready to, we have dollars for this?
Right, we've been putting money aside for the emergency communications tower project, and this would be one of those eventual built into that budget. So we have 68,000 in that fund right now, with another 20,000 earmarked in the 2015 budget. So those funds would come out of that pot.
Okay. Would something like this be shared with the county in some way, or in any way? Or is the county communications a separate entity?
We've approached the county, and Mr. Cruiser wasn't interested at this point.
Okay.
But even a little bit more background on the fire side, we've been having some major issues with larger buildings that are brick and metal type buildings. I know Kurt's Force has had even more difficulties than just regular dealings on the southern end of the city, where they get down by Walmart and they can't use their portables,
Okay.
which could be a very, if they were in a situation, it could be a very scary situation if they needed to get out on those portables and they couldn't.
Okay.
And we have that issue right now, mainly New Page, Riverview, places like that where we're down in the basement. We're hoping that this helps that issue.
All right. Okay. Let's see, are these things open to, for example, I want to think Higgins United. Are these, do you and Higgins United, do they tie in with the city for needs?
They would actually be part of the Wood County Tower.
Wood County Service
and
Arrangement, okay,
communication.
not city. Okay. How close are the two in sharing facilities, or do you just want to stay separate?
Well, we've looked at that too, and then cost efficiency wise, it's probably better to stay close together than go completely separate. That's what we've been told by Baycom and when we've worked with other vendors also. So that's why we have the bid that we brought forth today.
Okay, at this time, can sheriff and city talk on the same radio?
If we would just need to go over to one or the other's channel. I mean, we can
Okay.
certainly monitor, but if we wanted to physically be able to talk, we can then just jump over, or they could come over on our channel,
Okay. All right,
chat with often.
okay. So, any other questions from any of those present? Okay, would there be a motion then to approve the request for the purchase of the repeaters?
Yeah, motion to approve the request from emergency communication for $26,234.88.
Second. Motion is second. Where did I hide my stuff? Okay, a motion is made and second to approve the request from Police Chief Hoyer to purchase repeaters. This will be 2 repeaters for the emergency communications. The cost is $26,000 and some change. Okay. Anything else at this time you want to tell us about this, Chief?
That's it, unless anybody has any other questions.
Maybe a quick comment there
Sure.
about the tower that's been talked about. There's some questions about kind of maybe when that will be erected. And I know to the county's question, the question about the county has shared some resources with the city of Marshfield, for example, and erecting some towers up there. And unfortunately, the project didn't work for them, but we're trying to work through and what sort of partnership could exist here. And more recently, it's more been with Riverview and how Riverview may have some challenge, some interest in kind of collaborating on a project to deal with some issues that they have in their building too. So beyond our public safety needs here, there's been some other conversations with some of the other players, which is encouraging in the sense that
Sure.
we all have limited resources and we want to be able to pool them and use them most effectively.
Right. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion any opposed? Motion passes. You're welcome, Chief. And item number 5 is a motion to adjourn. Second? Second. Motion made and seconded to adjourn at 5:40 PM.